I never saw the American Psycho movie. I always thought it sounded corny and lame, and the only people I knew who quoted it were corny, lame people. I never read the American Psycho book just because I never got around to it, and I thought, well, if the movie is corny and lame, why do I want to watch the movie? So I finally got around to reading the book and watching the movie, and it's not disturbing. I'm weird. I don't can anyone in the comments tell me what is with this internet shorthand of being disturbed by everything? But to me, reading the book, all I could think of was, if you're disturbed by American Psycho, and the book is grisly and gruesome, and it goes on and on about pulling body parts out and eating people. I mean, it is really, body horror wise, one of the most gruesome books I've ever read. And I'll get to what that means to me and why I'm not disturbed by it. But the whole time, all I could think of was, if you're disturbed by American Psycho, either the book or the film, you're disturbed by America. Like, I don't know if people are missing it, or maybe I've uncovered something, or maybe I'm just full of crap. But the whole time reading the book, I'm like, this is Donald Trump. This is your Fox News viewer. Like, the main character, Patrick Bateman, he is the ideal Wolf of Wall Street type character, and he is the main character. We are inside his mind. We want what he wants. We see what he sees. We observe the characters the way he observes the characters, the lusting for, more money that they don't need, and jobs that they don't do, but they just want it, because then if they have it, the other people in their little clique don't have it. It's just this constant competition for something you don't need or even really want. It only exists to be the thing that you want. And then it grows and grows from wealth, access to clubs, drugs, and then it becomes to own somebody's body, or to own somebody's soul, or to own somebody's life. And it just keeps going and going. And the whole time reading this, I'm like, this is capitalism. This is the goal of every true blue capitalist. And beyond that, as capitalism grows and grows, it just makes everything very dull and boring. McDonald's starts as this amazing place with, all of these colors and slides and play pits, and there's Game Cubes in the 90s in the fucking McDonald's, and, the burgers are amazing, and the quality is top shelf, and then we replace the milkshake with some type of powdered thing, we get rid of the play pits, and now it's just a boring gray box. The same thing is in the book, where in the book, you do have these, you have two sections. Each chapter can either be the narrative, or it can be these long, drawn-out descriptions of things. And they ease you into it. I don't think there's a real murder in the book for about, and I read it on a Kindle, so over the first 30 to 40% of the book, which would be probably about 150 pages or so, there's no murder. There's very little violence. But it grows and grows through the racism, the sexism, and the movie misses a lot of this because they just take the teeth out of it big time. The way that the characters talk about the women as, hard bodies. They're bodies, they aren't people. I don't care about your name. And that's the funniest part of the book, is that they're constantly forgetting people's names. And I can't stop laughing, and I'll get into my theory on that later. But going back to the way that capitalism reduces everything down to its most boring basic route, right? We used to have street lights that had these designs on them, and now it's just a gray pole. Get rid of it, who cares? And it's the same way where they ease you in with these long descriptions of his haircut. There are pages and pages of him describing his haircut, his suit, and the way the cufflinks match the thing, and based on this magazine that came out in 1982, but now it's out of style, and the music. There are reviews of various albums that go on for pages and pages and pages, and then by the time you get to the murder, it's the same thing. There will be spoilers. The first murder, he kills a homeless man who is black, and it, edges up from, he hates this man because he's homeless and he's dirty. Then he hates the man because he's black and he's throwing all of the slurs, and then he kills him, and it's about 2 or 3 pages, and it's very graphic. He cuts his eye out and he does this and does that. And then as it goes on, these murder scenes will then take up 3, 5, 8 pages of just intestines being torn out, and I'm biting through them, and this and that. And then the sex scenes are the same way. I licked her here, and I hit her from the back here, and then we swapped to this, and then she did that. And I read online, people are like, I can't read this. This is too graphic. This is stomach churning. And I'm like, it's okay to skip those parts. I feel like the book trains you to know that, oh, he's going off on one of his tangents. Just like a radio, he's murdering somebody or pulling someone's body apart, no different than fixing his radio. And for me personally, I was perfectly fine just skimming, reading, and then, okay, it's one of those scenes. Kind of skimming, oh, her was bloody and I ate off with and you just kind of skim those, and it does the purpose of showing how boring this guy's life really is. And the prose are great. The dialogue is the best part. Maybe I'm an awful human being, but I could not stop laughing at this book. Throughout the book, I feel like the book, people are trying, when I've seen so many reviews, I think people are really reviewing the movie, and I'll get to the movie in a moment, where in the movie, you do have actors playing characters, but in the book, these characters they're just on the page, and they all have such goofy, they all have such nondescript, repetitive names. James, I can't remember them now. I finished the book last month, but Patrick and James and Gordon and Howard and Matthew, and they're constantly confusing people with the other people. And in the movie, they do this once or twice where people don't know Patrick's name. And to me, this goes into the twist at the end where the push of the book is that at one point, he murders one of his co-workers, and I forget the guy's name, but Patrick keeps waiting for people to figure out that he murdered this guy. He wants to be caught, as part of his new game. He eventually is at the point where he's like, now I want to be caught. And he leaves a voice note that the guy has moved to London. There's all these people like, have you seen this guy? And you're like, oh, I saw him in London. And many people attribute this as that this is proof that the whole book takes place in Patrick's mind. But to me, it's proof that they don't know each other's names. That's like that. And maybe I'm wrong, but it makes me laugh so hard that they don't know the other people's names in their clique because their friends are all disposable people. Another thing in the book that I love is that there are chapters where the scene just ends. And I was reading it on my Kindle, so the first 1 or 2 times that this happened, I'm like, I had to check, but there's a part where they're doing a phone tag. And the way this is done is great. It's so easy to read and it flows. The writer is so good. They're doing this phone tag thing where there's all of these people coming on to third, they're doing 3-way calling and people are dropping in, dropping out, blah, 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 blah. And they're trying to make plans and they don't want to do this and they're moving this there and they don't know what to do and they're trying to avoid that person, but not that person. And then the scene just ends. And it's like, yeah, because this is boring bullshit. This is the fade to black. Okay, we don't need to see that. And there are scenes that just abruptly end because his life is so boring. The millions of dollars and the dates with the hard body supermodels and the cocaine in the clubs and the murdering and the stalking and the shooting places up and stuff. It's boring. It's just boring. Now, what does it have to say about the business culture? I mean, it literally is you can get away with murder. It is Donald Trump saying I can grab him by the pussy. There are so many lines in the book, over and over, there are so many lines in the book, I was like, when the book came out, so Donald Trump is not a main character, but he is a character in the book. It's actually funny. Tom Cruise is a character in the book too, which is there's so much wall breaking, not fourth wall breaking, but the window in the third wall kind of breaking where there's guest stars poking their heads in. It's so funny. And Donald Trump is one of those guest stars poking his head in the window saying, hey neighbor, and then the live studio audience, woo! Oh, I thought that you had sugar, and then he's out. But Donald Trump is one of those types of characters. And, the fact that even in whenever the book was published, 1988 or something, that Ellis knew that a character like Patrick Bateman would glamorize Donald Trump, would look up to Donald Trump as the alpha male, the ultimate man, the perfect man, the whatever, that he wanted to copy his fashion, his je ne sais quoi, he wanted to copy wherever Donald Trump ate, he had to eat. Whatever Donald Trump wore, he needed to wear, whatever Donald Trump did, he needed to do. And that this person was a psychopath, an absolute psychopath, an American Psycho. And I'm from my point of view, you don't need to call the book or the movie American Psycho. You can just call it capitalism. That's what it is, dog. And but the whole time reading it, I'm like, Patrick Bateman is now a cabinet member. Donald Trump is the leader of the country. It's like this is now come to life. This was a warning. Whether Ellis intended it to be, it was. Whether he wrote it with that in mind or whether he felt it coming and just knew, hey, this is what's going to happen, guys. This is now happening. I love the book. I did not interpret it as like the illusions of a madman. I interpreted it as very literal. I interpreted everything in the book as happening very literally, and he can't. And sometimes people say, well, it was an illusion in his mind because he can't get caught. No, he can't get caught because he's rich. He's trying, and it's like, oh, the fact that no one can find this guy that he killed proves that it all happened in his mind. No, the fact that they can't find this guy is because none of them care about the other people. They aren't friends. They don't care about their clique. The guy vanished, and they're like, did you see him in London? And they go, I think I did, because they don't know each other. So I had to watch the movie. I didn't care. I just thought, the book, it's a hefty book, 400 something pages, and it's fairly dense, even though I did say there's like big sections of skippable text, like literally manuals of radios and stuff, and reviews of albums and stuff that is very meaningless. And it's just to show Patrick's, again, from my point of view, his boredom with the world. And with that said, so I watched the movie. I'd never seen it before. It's 2026, and I'd never seen it before. My main exposure to the movie is two things. Number one, a couple of my friends kind of just quoting it to me as if I know what they're talking about. It's like, who gives a fuck about Cambodia or whatever the line is? And I'm just like, I'm not a movie quote guy. I'm a Simpsons quote guy, but I'm not a movie, like, that doesn't pop me. That's like a whole other thing where I don't like this Easter egg culture that we live in, but that's me. I'm stupid. I do use a lot of Simpsons quotes though, but there are 900 something episodes. But my friends would quote it, and and then as I started to learn what the movie's about, and we did enter the Trump era, and I just felt that violent fascism upon us, I would be like, is this like a good thing or something? Is he the hero? Like, I don't get it. What's the movie about? Then, in 2022, my student, who's like 13, he showed me a clip of Patrick Bateman doing his morning routine, and he just showed me this clip, and I knew it was, an actor. I'm like, well, that's Batman. But I didn't know it was from the movie. And he goes, yeah, man, this guy's awesome. He talks about finance. He talks about how to dress in, as a businessman. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, this guy's an actor. Does my 13-year-old student think this is a real person? And just through some prodding and questioning, yes, he thought Patrick Bateman was a real person on TikTok to like listen to. And that's like wild to me, man. Like, I couldn't get over that. I just felt like the movie was this condensed version. It was just a pamphlet, it was all of the best lines, all of the best scenes. I didn't really think that the narrative was very good. And the fact that you then had actors attached to these characters, it kind of broke that gag from my point of view of them not knowing who the other person was. I think it would have been funnier if they would have changed actors. If I think James Franco is in the movie, if James Franco in one scene is Tom and in the next scene he's Harry, like that would have been funny to me. I think the movie lost that humor and the violence. I get it. I just, everybody I knew, I hate saying it, the book was better. The book was better. And I just felt like it didn't have that critique of capitalism. It didn't have the racism, which is part of it. I'm sorry, but there's a lot of racism, a lot of slurs, a lot of, a lot of it. And that adds to it. That is the merging of, fascism and classism and racism, And the scene with the homeless man, especially because Patrick feels in total control to the point where he can call this man a bum. He can say he stinks. Now he can call him a slur because he knows that this homeless man will say, "Thank you, can I have some more?" Because this man might give him some money or some food or some clothing. And in the movie, that's neutered, And it's funny that you neuter out that racist language, but you're still able to put in this outrageously violent content. Whatever. I mean, the movie was as good as it could have been. This is a case where a 2-hour movie can not do justice to something that is so large in concept and scope. And I think if you read it because you like body horror, you'll probably have a really good time. But if you read it in the same way, if you watch, 120 Days of Salo, with the concept of, hey, this is a point in time in the fascist republic when people knew the war was going to end, so they wanted to have one last bonanza. If you watch it through that point of view, you're going to see it in a different way. Or if you watch Star Trek for the pew pew pew, which my wife does, or if you watch Star Trek for the Picard speeches about humanity, you'll have a different, view of it. If you read American Psycho through the view of, this is how the fascist elite live, walk, talk, and operate, you will see it through a different lens. I love the book, 5 stars. The movie was fine, I guess. That's my critique of American Psycho. If you're shocked by American Psycho, you are shocked by capitalism. Thank you.